So far, it was largely the philosophers who studied human consciousness, but a serious effort to understand consciousness and walk the path towards ultimate reality was made at the MIT World Peace University in the form of the world's first conference on consciousness, the ultimate reality.
First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to participate to this conference. My topic is retrocausality, free will versus determinism. The syntropy theory suggests a quite simple hypothesis, which is the following. If syntropy is the energy of life, and life is supported by syntropy, since syntropy propagates backwards in time, the parameters of the autonomic nervous system that supports the vital functions should react in advance to future stimuli. For my doctorate in cognitive psychology in Rome, I worked on this hypothesis and I devised 4 experiments in order to test it. I first searched for scientific experiments in the scientific literature, and I found experiments which showed that heart rate and skin conductance react in advance to future stimuli that arouse emotions. The first experiment dates back to 1997 and was carried out by Dean Radin of the Noetic Research Institute. And the results show that when we present emotional and neutral images to a person, heart rate and skin conductance activate before images with emotional content. In other words, the autonomic nervous system can feel the future, even when there is no way to know it since it is completely randomized. Another important study was done by Daryl Bem, who replicated standard experiments in psychology, but in a retrocausal way. For example, in priming experiments, the person is asked to respond as quickly as possible, indicating whether an image is pleasant or unpleasant. Before the image, a prime is shown. A prime is an image shown below the threshold of sensorial perception, so quickly that the person doesn't realize having seen it. When the prime is congruent with the image, that is, the image is positive and the prime is also positive, the reaction time of the person is faster. On the contrary, when the prime is not congruent with the image, for example, a positive prime is followed by a negative image, the reaction time is lower. In retrocausal experiments, the prime is shown after the person has responded rather than before. First, we have the image, then the person's reaction time, and then the prime. The prime is shown after the subject's response, and the results show that it affects the reaction time in any case. In my experiments, I used colors. 4 colors were shown full screen on a computer monitor, and the heart rate was recorded. For example, first was shown blue, then green, red, and yellow. Each color remained on the screen for 4 seconds. At the end of this sequence, the 4 colors were shown all together on the screen, and the person had to choose the color before the computer would soon after select. So it was a guessing task. Once the choice was made, the computer randomly selected the color and displayed it full screen. This procedure was repeated 100 times for each subject. The results show that the heart rate is activated in advance in a different way according to each color selected by the computer in the last phase. Although the heart rate shows that it already knows which color will be selected, the person keeps on guessing by chance. And it seems that this knowledge does not enter the rational mind. In other words, we have two different types of information. One provided by our autonomic nervous system, our heart, and one which is provided by our mind, and we must decide which to follow. In each moment of our life, we are faced with bifurcations. Do we choose what our mind tells or what our heart tells? This constant state of choice between heart and mind, between past and future, will be at the basis of free will. In the Western world, we usually follow what the mind tells, whereas in the Eastern part of the world, the focus is more on the heart. On one side, rational decisions, on the other side, intuitive decisions. For example, Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple Computer, discovered intuitive thinking in India. He used to say that people in the Indian countryside don't use their intellect as we do, but they use intuition. Intuitions are much more developed there than in the rest of the world. Intuitions are a very powerful thing, more powerful than the intellect, in his opinion. And thanks to intuitions, Steve Jobs started having visions of the future, and already in 1976, he had intuition of the smartphones. He had discovered that intuitions are provided by the inner voice, the voice of the heart. Steve Jobs repeated, "Don't let the noise of other people's opinions cloud your inner voice. And most importantly, have the courage to follow your heart and your intuitions. Somehow they already know what you really want to become. Everything else is secondary." Einstein had repeatedly stressed that the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is its faithful servant. However, we have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Thanks to Zen meditation, Steve Jobs silenced the chatter of the mind and the attention moved to the heart. He said that almost everything, all expectations, pride, all fears of failure simply vanish in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that we must die is the best way, I know, to avoid the trap of thinking we have something to lose. You are already naked, so there is no reason not to follow your heart. In conclusion, what the experiments on retrocausality show is that the heart plays an important role in intuitions and decision-making, and that we should, especially in the Western world, learn to focus more on the heart and trust our intuitions. Thank you all for your attention.